The following program is a production of the Alabama Cooperative Extension Service.
Hello, welcome to the Alabama Cooperative Extension Service's third Sewing Update for Entrepreneurs video conference. I'm Carol Centrallo, Apparel and Textile Management Specialist.
I'm Georgia Aycock, Extension Resource Management Specialist. This conference is designed to support existing and potential entrepreneurs of sewing businesses. You will learn how to increase your efficiency and improve production practices to minimize time and energy. You will also learn how to purchase fabrics and notions wholesale.
The conference consists of 5 segments. First, Clotilda, who is well known for her mail-order notions company, her book of sewing tips, and seminars she presents nationally, will demonstrate an array of sewing notions, supplies, and equipment that can help you increase the productivity of your sewing business. Next, we'll visit 3 Alabama entrepreneurs to learn what works in the competitive business environment. Then educators will tell us about the different environments where the business of sewing is done. One is the wholesale market and the other is the sewing room. Our last segment will feature Margaret Allender, creator of a course on industrial shortcuts for the home sewer and founder of the Allender School of Fashion Arts. Through lectures and videos, she has helped many, just like you, to handle fabrics, sew without pins, and eliminate steps that waste time.
Some professionals you will visit will join us later here at Auburn. During the program, you will have the opportunity to call in with questions. Our toll-free number is 1-800-258-ACES. That's 1-800-258-2237. Your site facilitator may have a packet of information on the topics we will discuss. Use the panel question form to make a note of your questions for the professionals.
So let's get started with Sewing Update for Entrepreneurs.
Hello, I'm Clotilda, and I love sewing, I love notions. I'm always looking for better mousetraps, and these are the things that I'm going to be showing you. How to make your work easier and more productive. There are some very good products on the market. There are some not so good products on the market. And I like to be very honest with you all and tell you that this is better than that, so that when you go to your local fabric store, you will know that A is better than B and why, or that you could save money by buying one over another. So, people always say, how did you get started? It started over 20 years ago. I started in my garage with the notions business. I was teaching for a very fine fabric store and taught all the classes there. I had found some pins that I liked much better than those that were available on the notions wall. They happened to be from the Floral District in downtown Los Angeles, where I was then living. They were corsage pins, and obviously a corsage pin needs to be very sharp and very smooth, or you're going to snag your beautiful evening dress. I brought them to the store, and the store owner said, Clotilda, you go get them. I'll start buying them from you. I don't want to have to go down to downtown Los Angeles and write another check. I would rather buy them from you. So that was the way I started. And you never know where that may start, and now we mail out 4 million catalogs a year. When you're cutting out, you want to have obviously good sharp shears. For those of you who have arthritic hands or have some sort of problem, carpal tunnel syndrome, these new Fiskar scissors are excellent. They are called Soft Touch. They have a locking device, and all you have to do is to press. You don't have to take the time to go into the small rings, as they're called, part of the scissor, but this you could just cut along. They are available in a 5-inch scissor as well as in this 8-inch shear, so it makes it so much easier. We all know that you should never cut out with pinking shears. Pinking shears are used to trim your seam, and they have been around for over 100 years. Here is a device that is a new old device because it first came out in the 1930s, and it's an interesting story because now the inventor's daughter and son-in-law have picked it up and have reactivated the product. It is a continuous pinker. It just rolls right along. You never have any offsets. You can go around curves. You can go cut paper. It never needs sharpening. And here is your pinked edge. High-low adapter is heaven sent for those of you who have bought in the past a high shank machine. Cannot use the generic low shank feet. This you simply screw onto your machine, and then you will screw on your low shank foot, the generic low shank foot, and you have turned your high shank machine into a low shank machine. And there are 20 times more low shank feet out available than there are the high shank, and they're usually very expensive, so it will save you money. I never use a cording foot because the cording foot again rides on one feed dog, and you can never get as close as I am going to be able to get by using this pearls and piping foot, one of the creative feet. The cording foot traditionally is half this size, but there is this cutout portion. You are stitching a good 1/16 of an inch away from your cording. By using this pearls and piping foot, I'm going to turn this around because you would be stitching, straddling the piping with this pearls and piping foot that has, and I'm going to turn this over slowly, a very deep groove in here that allows you to stitch over even 1/4-inch pearls. Real fat cording. As you can see, this is an extra thick cording. This straddles the cording. I've set the machine in the right needle position, and I stitch down, ending up with the tightest cording ever. You can never get that close to your cording or piping by using your cording or piping foot that comes with the machines. This is a must for perfect piping or cording. This also is used for riding over rhinestones, zigzag across the rhinestones, or pearls, or soutache braid, even real fat braid at trim, as is shown here. You just zigzag across it with the invisible nylon wonder thread. And here is a lovely sample with double piping. Beautiful for pillows, for all sorts of home deck, as well as for putting on valance boards, for doing on placemats. You could do so many things with this, and you could put multiple rows of the piping in there for a gorgeous effect. The creative feet came out about 4 years ago, and they were invented, created, developed by a 28-year-old woman who had worked on sewing machines in her parents' sewing machine shop for probably 10 years. She is an incredible mechanic, and she developed some wonderful feet for thee and for me. I already showed you the results of the pearls and piping foot, but here is the satin edge foot, which has a movable pin, and it rolls all the way across the width of the foot, unlike your blind hem foot that looks similar to this but does not move at all. This pin is what makes this thing so wonderful, as well as for this toe, which has a ski tip so that it will go up over layers without balking when it approaches that layer. For use for the applique, as has been done here, you will butt the pin next to the edge of the applique and set your zigzag so that it will cross over the pin. Now it must encompass that pin because the pin is what keeps it flat, keeps the satin edge stitches from drawing or tunneling together, creating a big mess. It has been used around the curves, just easily to go around all curves. It also has been used around the edge of this sample. Obviously, you cannot satin edge with a serger, as has been done here. It's a physical impossibility. Then, to finish this off, Claire used the pearls and piping foot to stitch on the pearls for this lovely, lovely finish. Use this also for invisible applique, using, again, the invisible nylon wonder thread and stitching it on, and here is your invisible applique. By machine, not hand. The next foot, and these feet come with 4 different shank adapters, so that it comes with the snap-on, as you see right here. It comes with a low shank, a high shank adapter, a Singer slant, and a super high bar adapter. Just snap on whichever foot you need for your machine. And obviously Bernina dealers need the low shank adapter. But this just pops on or off. And now it is for a snap-on. For the sequins and ribbon foot, when you're putting on rickrack, this to me used to be the bane of my existence, as I used to make a lot of square dance costumes. And I would glue base the rickrack down, and it still would shimmy, shake, shift all over. But no, using now a 2mm or 2.5mm twin needle and the invisible nylon wonder thread, you will stitch your rickrack on. It goes through this tunnel, or guide as it's called. And the rickrack, moves up here, back and forth. You are stitching straight. By having 2 rows of machine stitching on the top, it holds it flat in future launderings, so you don't have to iron it flat. There is, remember, only 1 bobbin stitch underneath. You can use this to zigzag stitch over sequins if you have a 6.5mm zigzag capability. If you don't, then you would simply use a leather wedge point needle, machine needle, a size 14, that will pierce the sequin but not pop and break it. So you can do all these wonderful things with it. The most wonderful thing, put on real wide trim, as you see here. The most wonderful thing is that you could put on elastic. When you're putting on elastic, you need 3 hands. 1 to hold at the back, 1 to pull at the front, and what's going to guide, please? Usually at your elbow, or you're doing something with your foot or whatever, and it wobbles all over the place. But this foot sits at the back, is the 3rd hand. All you do is to stretch the elastic and guide your fabric, and you have perfect elastic application. This guide that comes with the sequin ribbon foot controls 1/4 inch wide elastic ribbon or trim. Therefore, you simply unscrew this guide and screw on the accessory guide to accommodate 3/8 inch wide elastic ribbon or trim, or this guide that will put on soutache braid 1/8 inch. The little hole was used to draw up anything decorative that will compress into that hole, such as this little cording. And it was put on by having drawn it up through that little hole. And you just zigzag across, and you're concerned with where your design is and not, am I catching the cording or the thread, the decorative yarn in the stitching. This is a Handy's glove. A must for people with carpal tunnel or anyone doing repetitive motion. You'll notice that 2 fingers come through 1 hole. This should fit very tightly. It is the girdle for your hand, and it massages your hands as you are working. Our computer operators use it because they're doing that repetitive motion. But quilters, crocheters, knitters, anyone doing this repetitive motion has aching hands at the end of the day. Even beauticians who are rolling up many, many permanents come home and they have to soak their hands in hot water. They can't do even the handwork because of the pain in their hands. Another interesting tool when you are easing fabric underneath the presser foot is this commercial tool by Ginger. It's a pincher seam ripper. It's used, a customer sent it in to me, in fact, because it's used in the Manhattan shirt factories in North Carolina where she works. She said this is worth the price of gold almost, because when you are easing fabric underneath the machine, you can ease it this way. This also picks out the stitches. Yes, in the industry they do have to pick out stitches. And also the other end is a pincher, and after working with many fabrics you build up pills on the fabric, or they use this to pick off the pills as well as to pick out the basting threads, as they do you need to in tailoring. The silicone lubricant is essential. Definitely a must with metallic threads as well as with twin needles, because when you're stitching with the twin or the dual needles, they're sometimes called, you are building up static electricity that causes skip stitches. So you use the silicone lubricant. It's called Sewer's Aid. This is So Slick. It used to be called Needle Lube. There are many different names for it, but generically it is called silicone lubricant. Very, very helpful. Use it on your spool of metallic thread, because metallic thread is sometimes a bear to work with, as it causes skip stitches. But what you're going to do, now assume this is metallic thread, you would literally put stripes around the spool of the metallic thread and let it dry for about 10 minutes. Then you've lubricated the thread and you could sew without any problems at all. It's very interesting that in the industry, the operators, when they're sewing on polyester fabric, on their machines there is a silicone cup on the machine, and there is like an IV dripping into it, dripping silicone in there, so that the thread is constantly bathed with silicone, which eliminates skip stitches, because obviously the operators are not paid for redoing their skip stitches or having to re-sew the seams. Another brand new product is this fiber etch. It's probably the most exciting thing that I have seen in years. And a woman who graduated from Manhattan, Missouri, Kansas, developed this. She was messing around with her chemicals and came up with this. This eats away plant fibers only, leaves the synthetics, so it will eat away the cotton, the linen, as well as rayon, which is a wood fiber. For example, you could do beautiful appliques or design work. This blue fabric is 100% cotton, the pink is 100% polyester. The design was stitched with polyester thread. You could use metallic thread, of course, which is not a plant fiber. Then you would take this bottle and, again, using the tip pen so you get just a little bit, you would come right along here and then hit it with an iron to activate the chemical, wash it out, the plant fiber or the cotton is all gone.